Alrighty, so today I'm going to pose a kind of sequential argument to show you why and how, of course, your body image directly impacts your body composition. Because this is not very obvious for many people. And I think for many people who are interested in things like training and strength conditioning and sports or bodybuilding, whatever it is, we often kind of have like a weird separation between how we're feeling about our bodies and what our bodies are doing, how they are performing. And we try to kind of isolate those variables. So today, hopefully by the end of this video, I'll have convinced you that your body image does have a direct impact on your body composition. If it's your first time here, hi, my name is Ash. I am a certified strength and conditioning specialist of 8 years, and I help clients and athletes with their body composition and their fat loss goals. As I mentioned earlier, body image issues are typically framed as like this isolated self-esteem issues, but many of us don't think that they're worth even addressing because we're not really making the connection between body image issues and, like I said, direct impact on body composition and training performance. So why don't we start with one, how negative body image activates the stress response and how stress hormones are directly suppressing your hunger cues. For some individuals, they might even consider that suppression a good thing. However, it only suppresses them temporarily before an event eventually triggers a cascade of hunger. When you look in the mirror and you feel disgust, shame, panic, whatever it is, this is obviously not a neutral emotional event. And so for many with severe body image issues, your cortisol and your adrenaline spikes, and in this consistently stressed state, your body will deprioritize hunger. This makes sense from an evolutionary perspective, as we don't really think about hunger or reproduction when like a lion is chasing us. If you need a more modern example, I want you to think about the last time you were under extreme stress at work. Maybe you were facing like an impending deadline, and think about where your focus was, right? It was probably on the deadline and not on what you're necessarily having for dinner. The result of this is that people with chronic body dissatisfaction often cannot accurately read their own hunger signals, not because they're weak-willed or because they even lack self-awareness, but because the system that produces those hormones, those signals, is being chronically overridden and suppressed. And also, this is why caloric restriction from a negative place tends to feel easy at first, especially when body image anxiety is high. So it's not really discipline that's enabling you to continue with your caloric restriction, but rather cortisol suppressing your appetite. Unfortunately, dietary restraint and body image anxiety is kind of the perfect binge setup down the line. So cognitive restraint, which is defined as the intentional effort to eat less, is also not inherently a bad thing, but it is often high among individuals who experience body image issues. And research will consistently show that cognitive restraint will collapse under emotional load. So as you get leaner and leaner and leaner and you eat less and less and less, you will eventually find yourself knee deep in like binge eating episodes, whether you like it or not, as it's a very natural physiological reaction to being in a chronically starved state. This means that someone who eats very rigidly when they feel in control and when they feel good about themselves, when they have positive body image days, will almost always eat past fullness when their body image anxiety spikes. So like a photo or some constant body checking or maybe like a disappointing weigh-in, moments of comparison, all of these are examples that can trigger that starvation, restriction, binge cycle that is extremely hard to get out of. So as I mentioned, the first part of this argument is that we have our stress response being chronically high, okay? So that is kind of the beginning of this. Building upon this, we want to talk a little bit about body checking and body avoidance, which can make this kind of stress response much worse, and then, your eating dysregulation much worse. So there are two main behavioral responses to body image distress for many people. Number one is called body checking. This is compulsively weighing, pinching, analyzing in mirrors. Unfortunately, social media has completely normalized body checking and like constant video scrutiny. There are so many horrific comments in comment sections. And if you want to know a little bit more about the impact of social media on your body composition, you can check out the video here and in the description below. So body checking will feed a feedback loop where basically any bad measurement triggers restriction and any good measurement triggers temporary permission to eat normally. Your eating essentially becomes entirely contingent on your mood or a number and not actual hunger or fullness cues. Over time, of course, that number will lose meaning because the goalposts will keep moving, but the eating disruption will remain. Second thing that many people with body anxiety do is essentially body avoidance. This is where you wear very baggy clothes all the time, or you're constantly avoiding mirrors on purpose. Though it is good to temporarily take a break from constantly being shown your reflection, eventually you will have to see yourself naked. So this body avoidance is not a very permanent solution. So a lot of what is feeding into this stress response over here is the body checking and the avoidance occasionally. And so when we consistently do this action, we get this stress response. And when we consistently have this stress response, it is changing our eating behaviors. And when it changes our eating behaviors, it directly impacts our body composition. I can't do a perfect A equals B and B equals C. It can't be like a perfectly sequential thing, because all of this is kind of constantly in like a feedback loop, and it kind of jumps back and forth. So studies on people with very high body dissatisfaction doing these behaviors show that they, one, overestimate fullness from smaller portions because eating itself feels very threatening, or maybe it feels like you are weak. And so the body will kind of amplify your satiety signals as like a form of anxiety response. Two, they will underestimate hunger when they have bad body image days. For athletic individuals, consistently underestimating your hunger will result in poor training performance, and poor training performance, like I said, will negatively impact your body composition. I am repeating myself multiple times on purpose. Number three, these people will often feel extreme physical discomfort to a significant number of foods that they are not necessarily allergic or sensitive to. They will claim to always be bloated, always be nauseous. These claims tend to be very disproportionate to what they actually ate, and they will tend to make these claims particularly after they've been eating foods that they've labeled as bad. And so sometimes you'll hear them make comments like, oh, well, I just want to eat light, which again is fine in isolation, but these are often the same people who have a very long laundry list of bad foods that they always end up binging on no matter what. So maybe you don't actually always want to eat light, but you've kind of convinced yourself of otherwise. I've had many clients discover that they actually love foods like pasta and fried rice months and months and months after they've really addressed their relationship to food. And as a result of this wonderful discovery, they're finally able to consume enough carbohydrates and delicious carbohydrates in order to support their training. So one more time, just in case I didn't make myself super crystal clear, body checking, body avoidance is constantly feeding into the stress response. The stress response is impacting your eating behaviors. Your eating behaviors are impacting your body composition. Your body composition will eventually impact your training. So if you address this will become in a much better state. Was I successful in making my argument? I'd like to think so. If you found this helpful, please give the video a thumbs up so that I can continue to create free content. And if you want more free resources, you can leave your email in the free newsletter below. I will see you guys in the next one.